mine's so cool.
Turned it off. Sorry. I'm cancelled. I can't work this anymore. It's okay. I think that's not going to work, but that's all right. All right. G'day, beautiful transphobes. My name is Biddy O'Laughlin, but they call me the J.K. Rowling of the Adelaide comedy scene, which is weird because I've never written a book. I'm the mother of a beautiful little girl, a women's rights advocate, and a cancelled everything. I'd been piqued in pregnancy by Kelly J. Keane, and as a vulnerable single mother, I probably could have excused myself from the fight and kept my head down. But after birthing my darling daughter, I simply could not. I also felt that as an artist, it was my duty to challenge the trans lie that had swept through the industry and our institutions. So just 1 month into motherhood, I took to social media and said, women have babies, men don't. And my world fell apart. My best friend and countless colleagues started to distance themselves from me. I lost much needed work, and I haven't been able to get a grant in as many years as I've insisted that women don't actually have willies. In the 18 months after posting the truth, I retreated to a private Instagram account while I licked my wounds. It wasn't until I met some real-life TERFs that I truly started to heal. And I didn't meet them until 2023 through the Women's Rights Network Australia. Shortly after meeting real-life TERFs, I started telling jokes about blokes in dresses on stage. While I had worked in film and television up until motherhood, that had all dried up, and I fell back onto stand-up comedy, the supposed last bastion of free speech. I invited all the Adelaide TERFs to attend my first transphobic comedy performance, and thank goodness they came. I was very nervous about speaking the truth, convinced it would be my last gig. But thanks to the laughter of the TERFs, the booker let me come back, and I continued to do my little jokes, mocking the absurd, until I was officially blacklisted last year. People have often said to me, Biddy, you can't be an artist and an activist. And to them I say, watch me. Yeah. Prove you right. The gig that really got my knees knocking was actually the Julia Gillard takedown, when the Adelaide Women's Rights Network Australia ladies and I got our tickets to former Prime Minister's talk and Q&A session, ironically on women's advancement and leadership. We were quite irritated that Ms Gillard had thrown all women under the bus with her amendments to the Sex Discrimination Act, and we planned on putting her on the spot. The TERFs and I walked in what felt like slow motion up North Terrace towards Government House, with the tricky question of what is a woman up our sleeves. Nervous as I was, when I was picked to ask a question, it came out clearly and we exposed Gillard on the world stage. Thanks to Kit Kowalski, the co-founder of the Women's Rights Network Australia, for recording the live stream and releasing the footage before they could delete it. What we achieved that day was highlighting how unprogressive trans allies are, that being a trans ally is something only privileged women can afford to be. In a clumsy attempt to diminish the fact that convicted rapists are being housed in women's prisons, the words most people won't end up in prison actually came out of Julia Gillard's mouth. The mastermind behind the takedown is here today, whom I fondly refer to as a lady TERF, and I think she deserves a round of applause. This is Elizabeth V.G. LeBron. Since coming out as a TERF, I've been asked things like, why do you care so much? Why can't you let them be? What's it to you? And at this point I ask, why don't you care? Putting the feelings of men over the safety of women and children is wrong. Telling children that they could have been born in the wrong body is wrong. I firmly believe that if I had been born 10 years later, I would have caught this social contagion. As a kid, I loathed the thought of puberty. I started dieting at 13 to prevent getting a period. I hated my breast buds and imagined a machine that would suck the new flesh away, leaving me with a flat chest forever. I even wished I had been born a boy. But wishing you had been born a boy is very different from being told you might be a boy. My pre-puberty dieting evolved into bulimia. I was convinced I was overweight when I wasn't. Imagine if the kind thing to do was to affirm that my self-perception was correct, that I was fat. Maybe I had a fat soul. Should I have identified as obese? Thank goodness I was born in the 80s when girls threw up their food instead of cutting off their breasts. Some of my friends admit that they are too scared to speak up, because what the Be Kind Brigade omits from its message is the or else. The kindness of these people is completely conditional on your total fealty to a lie. And if you question anything, they'll take everything you have. Getting cancelled is tough, but women's rights and child safeguarding is a hill I said I would die on. So I had no right to whinge about dying on it. But I did. At one point I was complaining so much I thought I might be trans. It has not been easy, but despite the grief and loss, the cost of truth is a price I'd pay any day over selling my soul to gain the world. While the country's comedians have turned their backs on me, I have found a new family in some of the funniest women I have ever met. I think it's very fitting that Sal Grover called her app Giggle, because that woman never ceases to make me laugh. She says hello. Thank you, every one of you, for being in this fight. TERFs have enriched my life beyond recognition. We will be vindicated because we are on the side of truth, not lies. And we're holding the line for our daughters. They can cancel me all they like. I will always be an artist and I will always speak the truth. Thank you so much, guys. Who else would like to speak?